things beautiful. No.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back. Before the break, we were talking about the emotional effects of a traumatic childhood. So now we're going to the physical effects and the societal. So what do we get from the physical effects?
So the physical effects are basically how the emotional effects translate into our body. And so when you're anxious or when you're going through any emotional havoc, is usually how do you experience it in your body. And now let's say you're anxious, how does your stomach turn? How does your breath change? How does your, there's the gut feeling, something we call the gut feeling. I think it's a metaphor that's used, but it's actually true.
Okay.
Because there's your brain and your gut is so much connected that if any pressure comes from your brain, the first part of your body that feels is your stomach and your gut.
Yeah.
And that's why when you walk through a certain place and you remember a certain scent, it reminds me of someone, and some people feel a different change in their stomach.
Okay.
Yeah, and those are like constant. Imagine now constant emotional disturbance to yourself and how your body and your mind are connected. So the change in your stomach can, when it's too much, when it's too constant, and a lot of hormones are being released within your body.
Yeah.
It sort of also dysregulates your digestive system.
Right.
And so either people get irritable bowel syndrome,
Yeah.
something we call that, and also others get intense constipation, which is later on translates to other issues, inability to absorb nutrients in your body in your body, so which can also cause other chronic illnesses. Yeah, that we could also get respiratory issues. Could also get heart diseases. I mean, blood pressure is so much connected with mental health issues.
Wow. Yeah.
Also diabetes. Most of this mental health diseases are so much connected to how we are and how we feel and how we deal with ourselves. So if you're an intuitive person and you listen to your body and you listen to yourself, there's high chances that you can work through your emotions. Then there are like a lot of ways you can save yourself a lot of physical diseases.
Right.
Yeah.
And so basically what we're saying is every time you have a headache is not necessarily because you're having a headache. Just try to investigate why you're having a headache. You don't have to take a pill for every. Right.
Absolutely.
So then what are some of the societal effects?
So some of now after the chaos within yourself,
Right.
you definitely find ways to project it to the world.
To others.
To others.
Right.
Yes, to your society. So, and how you project it is differently. So whether you project it through, now if you become, you're unable to, you deny other people's experiences. You cut people off short, or you become again, like going back to other symptoms that we talked about,
Right.
people pleasing behaviors.
Right.
Or aggressive behaviors. That's how you deal with the society around you. And just if your lack of self-awareness just translates directly to the society. And maybe you seek power in certain instances because of you may be feeling inadequate within yourself, so you have to show your power. You show the society how it is. And so imagine a society which has different people who have not worked through their issues, who have different chaotic behaviors. And so that merging becomes also a distraction on its own.
Right.
Yeah, so I think that is how it impacts the society.
It's quite interesting. This is I'm sure when you're talking about this situation, is an example is when you're dealing with a toxic person. So if you're not aware of yourself, even dealing with someone who's toxic, maybe they're aggressive, or they have anger management issues, or they're even delusional, right? They assume everything of whatever. And you're not, as an individual, you're not aware of yourself. It will be really difficult to understand the other person. But then being aware and just awake to the fact that sometimes whatever happens, and especially when you're dealing or interacting with different people, is the projections are not necessarily you, it's them. So when you're talking about when someone has is dealing with childhood trauma, and the way it manifests itself to other people, what would be some of the solutions to? So I've realized that I have childhood trauma. So what next for me?
What is next for you to realize that after you realize that you have childhood trauma? I think first of all is you need to congratulate yourself for the awareness. Yeah, accept the fact that you have this certain toxic traits. I'm behaving like this because of this and this and this. And I need to find out more about myself and be curious of yourself, I'd say. And one way to be curious about yourself is just finding out within yourself, and also to be curious with yourself is also to have the platform to talk about yourself. I mean, the more you talk about yourself, the more you discover things that are within you and things that you harbor, because you can't know about yourself just by sitting somewhere or just by talking about, because I feel like a lot of times when people are with their friends or their families, it's easier for them to talk about a certain, movie, the political systems, talk about things that are outside what is happening with the neighbors and stuff like that. But people really don't talk about themselves, and they don't talk about their own personal experiences and what it meant to them and how someone else's experience means to them, and also interchanging this, having honest conversations about yourselves. And with time you discover more and more and more and more, and you get to appreciate even your experiences and also get to see the downside of them. And a safe space to do that is maybe in therapy. I'd say a safe space is to talk to someone you trust and you're comfortable with. And sometimes we also, talking about trust, we also force ourselves to trust people. It's like, I mean, she's my sister, I should trust her, or he's my brother, I should trust him, or she's my mom. It's like, do you feel emotionally safe around them? And do you think you will be disregarded for talking about certain things? Also, having such things in mind are very important as you explore yourself. Yeah, are you really feeling safe to talk about yourself? So that's part of the solution.
So does this include having conversations within yourself, asking yourself questions? What triggers my anger? What is okay for me? What am I not comfortable in? What makes me uncomfortable?
Listening to yourself. Again, listening to your body. What triggers you? What is it that this person says makes you so uncomfortable? What is it that this person says that is creating, dysregulating you, basically? What is it that, why is it exploring yourself? And if also, again, going back to the concept of witnessing yourself and seeing that, okay, is it the tone? What does this tone remind me of? Is it the time that I was scared? The tone is back to that. It's like just also exploring these things within yourself. You can write it down. You can, because part of writing is also, seeing things that are within yourself, right? And talking to others is also, you hear yourself. Sometimes I tell people to create diaries on their phone. If you want to record a video of you talking to yourself and just explaining how your day went around. I mean, what works for you? If you want to record a voice note, if you want to write it down, if you want to talk to a therapist, if you want to talk to someone you can trust. I mean, there are many ways to express yourself. Another thing I would say is also being mindful and being present in your life, and try to acknowledge things and notice things within yourself or within your environment that are destructive or that are not destructive. Yeah, that's it.
Right, so being mindful. I appreciate that. Alhamdulillah. In our deen, we are very much encouraged to be mindful, to have moments of silence, moments of just being alone and trying to ask yourself questions.
Contemplate.
Right, and also just pondering on ayahs and verses of the Quran and the signs. And this basically kind of reflects back to us. Because as believers, we know we have solutions, alhamdulillah, in the Quran and Sunnah. And it creates for us bases and platforms to kind of understand ourselves. So I really appreciate that we are encouraged to be mindful. It's one of the things that I do personally, and it feels very different when you're more aware. It's been an amazing 2 episodes with you. Before we go, I'd like you to give us a word of encouragement.
Okay.
As people who grew up in childhood trauma, does that mean that's it for us?
No, definitely not. Definitely not. That's so unfair to think that, actually. I feel like in my work personally, I've seen people transition to be like completely different people from how they began therapy and how they are currently, and how much confidence they like assume, and how happier they are with their lives, and from a point of constant anxiety to a point of being contented with the way of what Allah has given you.
Right.
And so there's always just it's where you begin. It's where you begin, and there's always a start point. There's always a step forward, and each step that you make, I mean, it can be tough. It can be hard. Some days are going to be harder than others, but it's gonna be worth it at the end, and there's no end to healing.
Inshallah.
Yeah.
Jazakallah khairan for joining us, Nemo. Inshallah, we're going to have you back. We need to have you back. But I've learned a lot. I'm really grateful. Inshallah. And we're going to, this is, right, childhood trauma is not something that we can explore and talk about enough. But it's definitely a start. And inshallah, we are going to be having another episode, inshallah, next week. And in that episode, we'd like to hear from you. What would you want us to cover? And send us your questions as well. Jazakumullah khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.